Now for this section, I want to start with a traditional React app, and I want to come back to one of the main assets, one of the main reasons for using Next.js, which I did already talk about in the first course section as well. This here is a dummy page rendered by a standard React application. To be precise, by this React application here. I just created a very simple React app with one component, the app component, and there I fetch data from a dummy backend, which is a JSON file in my public folder, which is therefore served by this development server. And in there I got some dummy data, but the important thing is that I'm not loading the data in my JavaScript code by importing that file or anything like that, but that instead I send a HTTP request to that file once everything is up and running in the browser. And then I load data, extract it, set my state, and render that data. Now, what we see therefore is that dummy data on the screen, but if we then view the page source of this file, we see that on there, in this page source code, the data is nowhere to be found. We only got this empty div here with the ID root, which is the div in which our React application is actually rendered in. And we can see that rendered application if we inspect the page, where we then see the actual DOM as it's currently rendered. There inside of the div with the ID root, we do see the unordered list with the list items. But that's only the DOM as it was rendered by JavaScript and by the React app, therefore, after we loaded this page. The actual HTML content served by the server, so loaded by the browser initially, is this HTML code instead. And that code did not include any data. Now that can have a couple of disadvantages, as I already mentioned in the first course section. For example, our users need to wait for the data to be loaded to actually see something on the screen. Now here that's super fast because that dummy backend file is served by my local development server, which runs on the same machine as the user is here during development, and therefore we don't really see a difference here. But for real pages, where we fetch data from some backend API, loading that data could take a second or so, and therefore we might have a delay. We might have a loading spinner, which our users have to see before the data arrives. So the user experience could be suboptimal when fetching data like this. Not necessarily, often it's fine, but it could be. Now, an even bigger problem could be search engine optimization though. If you are building an app where search engines like Google should be aware of your content, you'll have a problem because this HTML code, which is initially sent back by the server to the client, that is what search engines will see. And in there we got no content at all. So if our content matters and we want search engines to see and index that content, sending back this is bad. Now again, that is not a problem for all websites and web apps. For example, if you have a web app where users need to log in anyways, if you have some admin dashboard built with React, then search engines might not matter to you because users are not going to find your page, your admin dashboard, through a search engine. But if you do have a content-heavy app, like a blog or a shop, then you of course typically do want search engines to find your content, and sending back something like this then is bad. Now, I did talk about that in the first course section already. I just wanted to bring it back into your memory because it does matter. That is an issue which we can have with standard React. And the problem is that we fetch data in our component after the component was loaded. So we fetch data from the client side, we send a request to the server after something was rendered to the screen. The initial response, the initial HTML page, which is sent back by the server to the client when the user first visits the page, does not yet contain that data. And that can be a problem. And that is something where Next.js, with its server-side capabilities and its built-in features, can help us.